Ora sì.
Sì.
Ora lui.
Sorry, how many people need the Spanish translation? Spanish.
So you can start. Okay. Okay, good day to everybody. Welcome to this. This sound is not very good now. Can you hear well? Okay. So maybe we can do without microphone if you come closer. No? Okay, so this short retreat on the church, and church is a very important teaching. Why? Because it's a teaching dealing with the attitude of the practitioners, with the conduct. What in Tibetan we say Chöpa. You know, in general, we have any teaching that we follow. We have what we say Tawa, which is the view, Gompa, which is the application, and Chöpa, which is the attitude, the way we integrate the teaching. And the chod is a very important teaching because it was used by many masters like Dzogchen masters and Mahamudra masters for the way of integrating the essence of the teaching in the daily life. And even we have in the Santi Mahasanga base, if you study this text, there is if you want to speak, you need to speak on over. Okay. In the Santi Mahasanga base, we have one chapter, one of the last chapter. It says how to deal the teaching with how integrated with the daily life. Then we have two main teachings. One is the chod, and one is the yantra yoga. And when it explains the chod, then it says the title integrated. It says zondrel. Zondrel means it is perfectly combined or union of the sutra and the tantra traditions. Why? Because the source of the church is very much related to the principle of the sutra, the Mahayana tradition. What in general we say the Prajna Paramita. You know, in general, when we say like the teaching of the Buddha, then mostly we have three turnings of the wheel, Dharma wheel, Dharma chakra. Three turnings. The first turning, then it is famous when Shakyamuni Buddha, then when he taught for the first time to his five first students in Sarnath, then he taught these four noble truths. That is the basis of the Dharma, of the teaching. Then it developed, and mostly this kind of teaching then developed in what now they are known as the Hinayana tradition. The Hinayana tradition is mainly based on the sutras that they were compiled after the Buddha passed away, after his parinirvana, some years after that. Then when they held the first council, then many of the main students like Ananda, Shariputra, these important students, then they wrote down all that they had committed to memory of what the Buddha had spoken. So that is the source of the Hinayana tradition. Then we have two other, we say, turning of the Dharma. Then there is the second turning. It's called the turning which focus on the meaning of shunyata or emptiness. That is mainly the Dharma wheel, or what we say the prajna paramita. That happened, usually they say it happened in this Vulture Peak in near Rajgir. Most of you, many of you maybe have been near this area, this Nalanda and Rajgir. Then there is Vulture Peak. That is where they say Buddha, he taught this prajna paramita. Prajna paramita, then this second turning on the wheel is mainly the meaning or the focus of this teaching is to understand the real nature of existence that should not be covered with our concepts or our imaginations or ideas of how this the real nature of existence should be. So this shunyata, in some sense, it should not be confused or interpreted as like a final or absolute view of like concerning reality, but it's just like the negation of all concepts, all possibility of concepts. That's why this is still now the philosophical trends which stem from this prajna paramita, like this Madhyamaka philosophy, is still regarded like the highest philosophy in the Buddhist tradition, like the tradition of these important teachers like Nagarjuna. And then there is a third turning of the wheel, which is very important also, but is maybe in the Tibetan tradition little less considered or less continued, because that is what is the turning of the wheel, which somehow in which there is the introduction or explanation of the Buddha nature. This called this Tathagata Garbha. And the way that this Buddha nature it is explained also is a kind of going like very much on the essence of our mind, essence of our consciousness. So in these sutras related to this third wheel, then we find very much teachings which emphasize the clear nature of the mind. So this is something important also, and this is mostly the basis of as a philosophical trends, of course, like the Chittamatra or the Yogacara, and also of many of the Chan and Zen traditions. Many sutras, they are based on this third turning of the wheel. So that is important also. So the prajna paramita is belonging to the second turning of the wheel, and how the chod teaching is connected to this prajna paramita is also related to the history of the teacher, the female teacher who opened this tradition of chod, that is Machilabdran. Machilabdran, she was a female practitioner, and when she was young, since her young age, she was very expert in reading text like sutras at very high speed. So then she was invited in many places to read these texts. You know, it was very traditional way in Tibet to invite monks to read like the Buddha's canon, Kanjur, etc., for like sick people or for many purposes. So she was invited, and especially she was famous because she had a skill to recite very quickly this Prajna Paramita in the 8,000 line, this Asta Sahasrika, I think 8,000 lines. And there is one chapter in this Prajna Paramita large sutra, which is called the chapter on the Dud. Dud is a Tibetan word which corresponds to Sanskrit Mara. So, in general, even in the Buddha's biography, like in his history of his life, we know that when Buddha he passed 6 months under this Bodhi tree, then he had many obstacles created by these forces of Mara or demonic forces, whatever. So these forces of Mara, it means they can manifest in different ways, can manifest peaceful ways or joyful ways or wrathful ways according to how the practitioner can be more easily subjugated by these influences. But main meaning is that Mara means any obstacle to the path, any obstacle that we have to the path of realization of liberation, that is called Mara or Dud. This word Dud is a Tibetan word that also it corresponds to Mara. And this chapter in the Prajna Paramita chapter on the demons, then it's interesting chapter because it explains it's a dialogue between one of his students, Subhuti. Subhuti then asked the Buddha, yes, we understood now that all those who now will enter this knowledge of the Prajna Paramita then will accumulate infinite merits and their qualities will develop infinitely. Why? Because the Prajna Paramita is the essence of the Buddha's teaching, because it's the teaching that brings the real knowledge of what is beyond concept, beyond the intellect. So that corresponds also like to the final goal of all teachings like Mahamudra, Dzogchen. There is no difference in that meaning. So then the student also asked the Buddha, but then which obstacles will these practitioners encounter? Then the Buddha explains there can be this obstacle, etc., like mostly obstacles, they are related to our, first of all, like the various attachments, and then this is the more gross obstacle. Then we have like subtle attachments, which are more for high-leveled practitioners. You know, in general, when we say which are the obstacles for practitioners, there's two kinds. One is obstacles of the emotions, more related to the emotions. That means even if we follow a teaching, we practice, We know that our emotions, they are like poisons for our life, for our path, but they are stronger than ourselves in the beginning. So we try to control our emotions, not to be conditioned. Then slowly, emotions become less and less until one moment you are completely free from gross emotions. That is, in general, when you reach that level, we have like bodhisattva's way. Then there is, we reach like the first bhumi, first of the 10 levels of realization. Also, when we say like five paths, then there is the path of seeing. That also is this emotion already obstacle or emotion already overcome. So that is almost the beginning for a practitioner. Then all the rest is very subtle obstacles. Remember last year we did a short explanation of the Dorje Sempananka Che. Dorje Sempananka Che is a kind of a teaching that explains very detailed all these subtle obstacles that can arise in practitioners. So why we have these kind of obstacles? Because in general, we are very much accustomed to believe in our mind, in our thoughts. And everything that we understand, even if we follow a teaching like Prajna Paramita or like Dzogchen or Mahamudra, anything then we turn into a concept. So even we say Dzogchen contemplation, that become a concept. I am outside contemplation. I'm practicing because I want to be in a state of contemplation. Then how to get rid of the obstacles, all this. So this is all part of our level. It is a kind of beginner's level for practitioners. So this is going very subtle and subtle. Then it speaks like in the Bodhisattva path we have 10 bhumis, or we have in the five paths, so there are different levels, but this is something that it's on the one side for us it seems a little strange because it seems a little far from where we are. Usually we're not even very much able to control our emotions in daily life. So even we pretend we are Dzogchen practitioners. That is, of course, we are Dzogchen practitioners because we have a strong connection to the Dzogchen teaching. But to be real Dzogchen practitioner, it means already this obstacle of emotions already controlled. It cannot be that we remain slaves of our emotions and then 5 minutes or half an hour we do a little Dzogchen meditation or contemplation, and the rest of the time we are controlled by these emotions or distraction. So this is important point to understand. That's why in general Santima Sangha base, it's a very important teaching because it fits very much to our condition. You know how this Santima Sangha base developed, the source or the origin. Maybe you don't know. When Rinpoche went to the Kailash trip in 1988, there were many people going around with him. And then there were some problems like this emotional, all this emotional stuff. They manifest very strongly. I was not there, unfortunately, but in any case, Rinpoche like discovered something that until that time he was not really aware. That his students, for many of his students, this doctrine knowledge was something intellectual, not integrating in their life, in their conduct. So then I remember after that, once I was with Rinpoche in the Yellow House in Marigar, then we were talking, and then Rinpoche said, what should we do? Because I see our community, there is some lacking the base, something is lacking. Then I tried to say something, of course, but then didn't really, we ended that conversation. But then after some time, then he started this Santima Sangha base, and then explained he started again to teach. He gave the first teaching of Santima Sangha base in 92 around. Then he was again teaching these 10 virtuous actions, 10 unvirtuous actions. Then many people think, how come the Dzogchen master is teaching all these things to us? There's no, it seems a little like shocking for some people, no? So that means if you are a Dzogchen practitioner, you should have a complete base of what is the sutra teaching, Hinayana, Mahayana, then also tantric teaching like Vajrayana. The essence should be applied and should be like always in our condition. So not think we are Dzogchen, then we can do anything, we don't care about conduct, we can be free, we can treat people badly, we can abuse other people, or this is very wrong in general attitude that we should always be careful and aware. So always keep in mind this Bodhisattva's way of being, also very important. You remember Patrul Rinpoche's this text on these three testaments of Garab Dorje. He says that the Tawa, the view is this Longchen Rajampa. Longchen Rajampa means infinite universe. Why? He explains that because that means beyond limitations. Then we don't need to focus on one concept or something. That Tawa must be open. You observe your condition, then you are free in that, discover your real nature. Then the meditation application gone by is Chen Seo Ser, that means that is like a rays of knowledge and love. That is like a natural result of practice. And then conduct, he says, is Jiawen Yugu, means that is the like blossoming of the Buddhas. That is Bodhisattva. So the conduct, one should follow the Bodhisattva's view. So this is important to keep also in our Dzogchen community. It's very important that we always remind of this point, not to feel that we are very important, that we should control other people, or that we are we don't give space to other people for collaboration. In the Ganchil, there's so many problems. Always I hear something new, but of course there are problems because we are human beings with many emotions and conceptual and beliefs. But still, we must need to be present and aware and try to become a better human being. That is the basis of Dzogchen practice. So that is very important. So that was going back to this Prajna Paramita. So the dude. So when Machi Labdrön, she read this chapter, then she kind of had a kind of flash of understanding of this principle of the dude, of this obstacle for the practice. And then she, at the same time, she also received the teaching. Machi Labdrön mainly was a teacher of a student of one Indian Mahasiddha who was called Tampa Sanjay, Pa Tampa. Tampa Sanjay was an Indian Mahasiddha. He arrived in Tibet in 11th century, and he really was not a chod practitioner because at that time did not really exist the chod. His tradition was called this Shijepa, which means pacifying of suffering. That is a tradition very much connected with the like sutra and also like the Mahamudra principle combined. And one of its students, Sonam Lama, then he was the main teacher of Machi Labdrön, and Machi Labdrön received many teaching of this Shije tradition. Also, she received the teaching from a Dzogchen master who was Trapang Ngönshe, another Tertan. But mostly what Machi Labdrön received is an important text, a short text. It's called the Upadesha on the Prajna Paramita. This text is very important because it is the first text where we found explanation of and the expression of the term chö very clearly, and also how chod is related to 4 demons. this was composed by an Indian master called Arya Deva, but this is not the same Arya Deva who was a student of Nagarjuna, but another Arya Deva who was probably a teacher of Patan Pasanje. So this text, in this text, if you read this text, it's, all the essence of the church teaching is there. You remember last time that Rinpoche gave the church teaching here, in 2012, then the first day he taught 4 verses from this text, in which he explained how Machi Labdron understood the origin of the meaning of the church. So that is a very important text. In general, when we say the church practice, then mostly is based on two important points. Of course, the word chod means to cut through the attachments. The way that these attachments are personified or expressed are in the classification of 4 obstacles, which are called the 4 dudes. So 4 dudes, we have 2 ways of classifying this according to the general sutra tradition and to this Machilabdron tradition. In the sutra tradition, then we have 4 dudes, 4 maras. They are this, what we say, the first one, it's called the Deva Putra, the son of the gods, son of the devas, dude, obstacle. Why it is called like that? Because, you know, in general, devas, they are very much like distracted. They live a life of enjoyment of the senses. So they are not very much concentrated on the real sense of life, of existence. So that is a kind of distraction continuously, like we are very much, in general, all human beings are very much distracted with worldly business and things. So that is one meaning. Also, another meaning of this deva's obstacle means also kind of pride, that we have pride in wanting like to achieve something important. And even like when we have idea concept of achieving like a realization, that is also belonging to this kind of deva obstacle, demon, first demon. Then the second demon, it is called Chidak, this death, the Lord of Death. Of course, that is an obstacle because we are always worried about death. We are worried that if we die, then we won't be able to enjoy our life, or that we cannot continue what we are planned to do. So we fear very much death. So that is also something that it's an obstacle for us, for our path also. Then, of course, third one, I don't remember the order precisely, but then the third one, this nyemon, this emotion. Emotion, of course, very clear to understand what it means. We are always distracted and following after emotions. We try to achieve, to get what we want. We try to become free from what we don't like. So we have desire, we have hate. Everything is combined. Our life is always going with these two different modes of our modalities of our mind, the way we live in the daily life. So these 3, and then also there is a last demon, is this demon of the aggregates, but mostly this of the body, physical body. That is also because we are very much attached to that. That's why then in the church we have the method that we apply is related to this, especially this fourth demon of this demon of the physical body. This is the way that are explained these demons in the sutra tradition in general. Also, when we sing in our practice, that's how we do in the short chod that we do. Then we have in the Machilabdron explanation, 4 dudes is a little different. The first first demon that we have, it's called tokche. Tokche. Tokche means something that blocks, that you cannot reach to the other side. For example, if we want to go to, we can see now outside the window, but we cannot, if we walk, we cannot go to the other side because there is a glass or wall that is blocking ourselves. So that is the meaning of tokche. Sometimes it is translated as like tangible demons, but it is not the real meaning. It's a little similar, but difficult to translate correctly. In any case, that means related to our object of senses. In general, whatever, like even we engage on the path, then always we are distracted by object of senses, what we like, we do not like. So why they say they are blocking? Mostly the meaning is they block this clarity, what we say natural clarity. In general, clarity in the Dzogchen teaching is very important because that is a basis for meditation or contemplation. Clarity in general means that we are present with our consciousness is relaxed and present, not following our thoughts and remaining open to the sense perceptions. Then everything we perceive, we do not judge. Then that is, even if it is karmic vision or pure vision, whatever it is, then it doesn't matter. Then that is called clarity. So if this external vision or object of the sense, then we start to judge, we start to follow, accept, reject, then it's something that blocks our clarity. So that is why also it is called demon that blocks. So that is the first one. This explanation of the four demons is especially for practitioners like Mahamudra, Dzogchen practitioner. It's very much related to this tradition. We don't have in the sutra clear explanation like this kind. Second demon is called which does not block. That means our mind, our emotional states. For example, we are trying to do contemplation or like meditation. Then one point we are distracted. Then we start to follow our thoughts. Then at that moment, maybe I think yesterday that person, then he said me something that I didn't like. Then now I'm thinking, I'm following that. Also now anger is arising in me. So that my mental state is changing. I'm completely governed by that. Then it's not something that now is physical blocking my perception outside, but just remaining inside, and we are controlled, governed by this. Then that is also a demon, very strong demon. And of course, this also in the daily life, because whenever we are distracted, and we are not only distracted, but this thought, wave of thoughts, then is governing us, and then we are entering into action in the like dualistic vision. Then it becomes basis for creating karma also. So that is, of course, is something practitioners should be aware very much of that. The third, these first two are like these demons for, in general, all practitioners, even beginner practitioners, should be very careful and try to be careful of these two demons. Third one is more a little for those who are a little more experienced, who have more capacity. That is called gadro. Gadro means like complacency or self, how to say, that you are proud of something. Gawa means to be like something, to be happy about something. Truba means pride. So this kind of demon, then it manifests when you start having some experience. Like in general, practitioners can have experiences like through dreams, through, we say nyam, that means like sensations of practice. We have like, sometimes we can have a feeling like we are finally we understand, we have real knowledge of emptiness or something. Sometimes we can have dreams, like pure places or advice from special beings. There's many signs can manifest. All these, if you are not a good practitioner, then it becomes immediately can become an obstacle. Especially in the church tradition, then church practitioners. The difference between ordinary practitioner and the church practitioner is that the church practitioner, his main decision is to face directly his fears. His fears, his emotions, his problems. Whatever he has, he just wants to face them, not escape, and not just observe and let them subside in a calm way. So for that reason, they train like in fearful places, in cemeteries. Like in Tibet, there was this tradition. They go to 108 cemeteries or China grounds because they want to provoke their own inner demons or disturbing feelings, to face them, confront them, and overcome them through the blessing of the transmission through the Guru Yoga, and then through the offering of their body. So that is something very special. So church practitioners, then they have many nyams experiences, sometimes very concrete. Usually they have two kinds of nyam. One is called like Lanse, then Tsartse. That means some are like provisional experiences, like to be checked by like 8 classes or spirits, to be checked your level of understanding. Then you can be very much scared, all this. So they check how is your condition. Then I don't know if it's really outside there is something, or projection from inside, difficult to say. And then there is, of course, then final science and realization. So then when you have this kind of science, then this gadro, this complacency can develop very easily. That's why it is explained here, this third dude. You remember when Ayukandro, you probably have heard many times the story, Rinpoche used to tell many times, when Ayukandro was in Nepal, in Parping, she went around with 2 other Chopas, and then they were doing this practice of chod for many sick people. Then they were very successful. So they were receiving many gifts, and they were becoming famous. Then one of Ayukanda's friend, the yogis, then they said, we should leave immediately from here, because this Gadru, dude, this demon of complacency is already manifesting very strongly, so we better go away. So they left the next day, no? So that is very important. That is also, I want to say, just in the Christian tradition, we are very similar, because this Christian tradition, I think, very much related to the meaning of chod in some aspect, even it may sound a little strange, but I think that is something similar, because also Christian tradition, they are very much concerned with the control of their pride. Not only that, but I found a very similar story in St. Francis' story. They were the same in some place preaching, and one of his St. Francis students, he was becoming very famous. So St. Francis said, you better go away immediately from here, because this demon has got caught of you. So this, I was surprised when I read that, because it's very similar story. So, of course, when you are a real practitioner, it doesn't matter which religion, which teaching you follow, because then the human being is the same. Human consciousness is the same, so not much difference. In any case, that was the third dude. Fourth dude is called Nyemje. Nyemje is most important. Nyemje, in general, Tibetan word means also like proud or arrogance, but in the Machilabdran text, it says Nyemje means ego, danzin. Dog means self, and zin means to grasp, to hold. So to grasp at one's ego, that means we are always related. Anything we do, we are always related with our ego. Even if we, like in the basic Buddhist teaching, then we say Dhamme, without self. But even then, without self, but mostly everything we are related with ourselves. So everything is concerned with that. So Machilak John then, she gave very much importance to this demon that is the basis, that is the first that should be controlled or destroyed. You remember we have in the church, Danjingi Chopa, Danjingi Tsawa Chopa Shok, we sing, Danjingi Chopa Shok, Tsawa Chopa Shok, in this preliminary practice we have in the book. So that is essence of church teaching somehow, to cut the root of ego. So these are the four demons. I'm explaining many things today because tomorrow I don't want to explain much. We have to go to the practice. So I'm saying many things. I hope it's not too much information. But so then the origin of this practice of church, the method. Now we are speaking about the method. The method, then it says, that is also combined with the sutra and tantra. How? The tantra part is what we deal with visualization, because in church we apply visualization, like guru yoga or even offering of the body. Everything that we do with our visualization, with mantras, etc. So that is part of the Vajrayana part, transformation. And also there is probably, as Rinpoche explained, there are some traditions in the like Vajrayogini Tantras. Also there are some kinds of offerings of this body transformed into nectar, offered to like dakinis, etc. So that is maybe probably one source. The sutra part is because we have, remember 6 paramitas. We have, you remember 6 parameters. We say 5 parameters for the method and then the prajna paramita. 5 parameters of the methods, they are starting with the parameter of gift, giving or generosity, but it means giving. So this parameter of giving, then the first one is this, we say this sansingi jimpa, means material things, material offerings. So the supreme of these material offerings is our body, offering of our body. Then, of course, there is also tradition in the previous lives of the Buddha, like the Jatakas explained, when the Buddha was a bodhisattva, then once he gave his body to this tigress. If you have been to Nepal, you have these places in Tamolujin, this nice stupa. And but that is it is explained in all church texts. It is explained that is not something that a normal practitioner can do, to cut his own body and offer. So we apply the same principle, but through the method of the tantra, which is this visualization. So that is the root of this church method. And then also, because church we have 2 main offerings: the offerings of the body and the offering of the teachings. The offering of the teaching also is come from this the sources, this first paramita, because also when we say there is a second of the second of the generosity is called the gift of the teaching. So also gift of the teaching, of course, real gift of the teaching, it means you must have capacity, you must have a little absorbed the teaching into yourself, integrated, at least a little, that you don't create some embarrassment for yourself in front of other people. That is the basis. So that is important. But of course, otherwise one just can do like in the church practice, we have also gift of the teaching. We say these verses and maybe some spirits are listening. In any case, we are trying to put a connection. So that is important. That is also important source for the church. So then as for the actual practice of the chod, then maybe now we do a practice. I prepare the practice, short practice, but kind of practice in which we don't need any instruments like damarus like this, because chod we need damarus. We need like to sing and to play and to go in fearful places in the dark like this. So that sometimes for Western practitioner is not easy, because especially if you live a normal life, you have a job, then it's not easy to go in the cemeteries. In the West, you cannot even do that. But since the main the principle of church is that of the offering, then we can also work very much with our intention and with our visualization. So also it's important to do that. In general, when we say offering, like we have offering of the body, physical body, then practice of church in general, as we say, we combine the sutra and the tantra practice. So as for the tantra part, then how we start the practice of chod, we first of all we transfer our consciousness, like many of you know this powa practice. We concentrate like our consciousness like a sitsilaba, like ah or shri, whatever. Then this ah through the central channel is going up through this opening at the top, Brahma opening. Then it's in general when we do power, then we imagine this consciousness is transferred to like a pure realm, like Amitabha or like Samantabha or whatever we are visualizing that moment. In this case, when we do church practice transformation, then we first of all we sound pet and we transform, we eject our consciousness. Once it is ejected, then consciousness is manifesting as a wrathful dakini. Then wrathful dakini is like you can do whatever manifestation you are more familiar with. Like in Dzogchen community, usually we practice like Siamuka very much. So Rinpoche always said you can do this Siamuka visualization. Otherwise, there's like Tromanamo, Vajravarahi, there's many different, depend very much what you receive transmission also. So in that moment, we are transformed in this wrathful dakini. She has this curved knife. That moment, it's important. We do not think we are our body. We are outside our body, and our body is lying on the ground. So we are outside, and we are seeing our body on the ground. Then we, with this curved knife, we cut this kapala, the skull. We take this skull and then we place it on the. Sometimes they explain on the three stones, etc. This we will see later. Not very important, but still that is a traditional way. We put on 3 stones this kapala and become like gigantic kapala, huge. Then we put we are outside our body. We take our corpse without skull, and we put it in this big kapala. This is the visualization we have to do. So once we have that, then through then now we have to transform. We have to purify, Jean Jur, and multiply and transform our body. Why? Because our body now, even if we chop it in different parts, it's meat, flesh, and bones and marrow. Maybe some kind of classes they like very much, but other they will be disgusted by that. So then we transform like into nectar or whatever is more agreeable to these classes of guests to whom we offer. So that moment we have to concentrate, work with the visualization with 4 kinds of guests. That is a little similar also in the song offering. We have that. First guest, we have three roots. Three roots like Guru, Devas, and the Dakinis. So then this can also mean according to the sutra tradition. Then we have also like Buddha, Bodhisattvas, Arhats. So all these kind of manifestation. Of course, we should offer like flowers, nectars, all nice things, agreeable thing, incense, whatever is pleasing to the senses. Then, of course, if we have like a more little wrathful manifestation, we can offer like something different kind. But mostly, we are working in the pure offerings in that moment, like a manifestation like a Tara, of like a pure, like for the Kriya Tantras, deities, etc. We can go with our imagination, and very much we should go to what we have received teachings. So that moment we are communicating, like Yidams, Dakinis, whatever we have connection, we are communicating, we are offering, and praise and offerings. So that is first guests, they are called. Second guests, then they are, it's called important, powerful beings of the universe, like Gumbo Yonten. It means like important guardians. You see, guardians of the teaching in general, they are, some of them are like manifestations of wisdoms of enlightened beings. Others, then, they can be beings who have been, in any case, bound to the samaya or controlled by enlightened beings. So they, in any case, they act for the teaching, like, for example, Dorje Lepa. So to all these kind of eight classes, even though then they are protecting the teaching and the practitioners, but still there are many millions of beings belonging to these eight classes, which can be very harmful, very ill-natured and harmful character of beings. So they, of course, create many problems. So also they like maybe like also like blood and all these kind of offerings, wrathful offerings, etc. In this case, you should go also to whom you are visualizing in that moment. Because like Nagas, for example, of course, they don't like blood. You should know they like this white offering like milk, etc., or sweet. So we should work with our imagination. It's very important in the church we work with our imagination and how we feel. According to what we are visualizing, then we should transform the offering. Then the third guest, this is called Gegrik, Gegrilenchak. Geg means obstructing forces. Obstructing forces, it means in the universe there is many forces which are opposing the teaching. They are opposing the teaching because if a practitioner then he's following a path, it means then he's on the path of realization, then he becomes free and he overcomes like the suffering and problems of samsara. And this suffering of samsara and confusion is very much also connected to these harmful forces, obstructing forces. Like you know very well how Rinpoche explained about the Jelpo, the mamos. They can create many problems like earthquakes and plagues and famines. I don't know if I'm speaking correct English, but in any case, you understand. Many problems in the world, they are always connected with these external classes of being. So these are all can be also geg, opposing the path. Geg rig, this is one. Then lenchag. Lenchag means depth, or usually we have two terms, pulan and this lenchag, a little similar. Pulan, like debt, like we borrowed something, some money, maybe many lives before. Of course, we don't know, we don't remember, we never paid back. So now still we have beings who want us something for that, so they can ask for something. And also there can be also maybe we are treating very bad somebody, maybe for a long time we are not very much aware. Then this is created like a karmic payment. So this payment they are coming life after life. They can manifest like also illness, many illness. Then we say karmic illness. Then difficult to understand, but sometimes can be very much connected to these karmic payments that we have. So that is very difficult to overcome. That's why chod practice is very effective, very important for this reason, because through visualization and mantras, then we can purify our karma. So in this case, we offer this like a blood offering. You know, we have offerings of chod. We have four kind of offerings. Sometimes it's called like multicolored, white, red, and the black. We have four mainly. Multicolored, it means anything that you need at that moment you have to transform. There's no fixed rule according to what it can be. Even in money, cars, women, men, for those who like any of the sexes, whatever. You visualize that and you give, you offer mentally. Red offering, then it means, of course, related to blood, bones, our body, all what we consider like a little terrifying or impure, whatever. White offering, then it means more what we transform as pure offering, like milk, nectar, etc., like to Nagas, or maybe to like tree roots or the Buddhas, etc. Then we have a fourth type, which is very interesting because it is called Nanje. Nag means black offering. That is very much related to our problems with, for example, illness. Then how we do that visualization? Then that moment what we are offering, like we are offering maybe pieces of our body, like blood, etc., or other offering. That moment we visualize all illnesses, like I can have, or my relations, my being, all beings, or we imagine all illnesses. Of course, if it is specific person we are helping, also we can do that. But in general, they all become like a black substance or black cloud, integrating with all these offerings we are presenting. Then all these spirits they are eating all these blood, bodies, pieces of it, together with these black illnesses and everything. So that is kind of a pain back to and dissolving this danger of illness. This is explained in this Jimelimpa Kandrokejon. If you read, there is this explanation very clear. Also Rinpoche explained in the last retreat. So we can apply that also. Then the last guests are called the guests of the six lokas. That is guest of compassion. It means any beings we can imagine that they need something, then we are visualizing according to what they need, like pretas, for example. Maybe they want a little drop of water, then we are manifesting that. Or people who suffer from heat, like being the health, then we offer like something cool, like a refrigerator, ice. People who are suffering from cold, the same, we offer some heat, some warmth. Or people who are suffering from poverty, then we manifest like richness, wealth, money, anything. So that is going according to our visualization. So this, in general, should not be done in a order way. Sometimes they do in a specific order. Some text of instructions of the chod you will see, for example, they say morning time we do this white offering, afternoon time we do red offering, night time we do black offering. There is a specific way, no? The way that our master has always taught us is always said, when you do chod, you should work with your feelings, your emotions, your ideas, how they are manifesting in that moment. Then according to that, you do visualization, you shout pet, also you shout pet strongly, less strongly according to what you are visualizing in front of you. So very much going through with our own experience. That is, of course, mostly when we are practicing by ourselves. If we do collective practice, then it means we are training. And especially now, I want to do a practice where we do step by step all these four guests. So now I explain what you do. First of all, this what that we are doing now is not something I invented, but I transcribed from Rinpoche's teaching that is contained in one DVD, which is published by the Shanjung. So don't think I'm creating something new. I've just compiled these instructions so that we can apply. So this means in this way we can do practice of chod without singing any verse, any using instruments, and not just with the visualization. So first of all, we do Guru Yoga, which is, of course, most important thing. Even in the Santima Sangha, when Rinpoche explains chod in an essential way, he says we do Guru Yoga and offering of the body. These are the two main things. So in the same way, now we are applying this. First of all, we sound A. We radiate lights, and then imagine presence of a Machilab drone in front of us as the union of all gurus. So that is the first thing that we do, like our master is manifesting as Machilab drone, and at the same time is the union of all teachers and transmissions. Then we sound Om Ma Hum the first time. Then we imagine at the three places of Machilab drone, white Om, red I, and blue Hum. This is representing these three states of all teachers from whom we receive transmission. Then we sound the second time Om Ma Hum. Then we are receiving white lights, red lights, and blue lights from the three letters of Machilab drone. They are also symbolize all the empowerments of body, speech, and mind. Then we sound the third time Om Ma Hum, and then Machilab drone is dissolving in these three letters, Om Ma Hum, and then the three letters are dissolving into white light, red light, and blue lights, and the three lights are dissolving in our three places. When these three lights are dissolving in our three places, then that moment we shout Pet all together. Then that moment we go beyond all our concepts. We remain in that state, try to be in that state of this instant presence that is a union of the state of the teacher and ourselves. That is also like this Guru Yoga, Supreme Guru Yoga state. So we do that first of all. After we do that, then integrating with that, then we sing a song of Vajra, integrating state of contemplation. Then we start the offering. Then first of all, we sound Pet. And as I said before, we sound Pet, then we imagine our consciousness is transferred in space, manifesting as a Ratful Dakini, Siamuka, and in front of ourselves lies our body. Then we take a skull cap, we cut with a knife and put our body inside this skull. So that's how I said before. Then we sound the first Pet, and then we invite, now we do gradually, we invite the first guests, three roots, or enlightened beings, Guru Deva Dakinis, Sambhogakaya manifestation, peaceful, joyful, wrathful, without limitations, we do this visualization. Then we sound Om, Hum, Ha, Ho, Shri continuously, we do this visualization. That moment I sound the bell for accompanying that, also to understand when we finish the visualization, just for that meaning. Then the same way, then we do Pet, we invite the second guests. So then we invite like guardians, powerful beings, as I explained before. Then with Om Aum Hao Shri again, we transform our body, we offer like whatever is appropriate, etc. Then we sound Pet a third time. Then we invite these guests, what we say, karmic payments or obstructing forces. Also for causing those forces that cause like illness, etc. We can do that visualization together. And then the fourth time also we sound pet, and then we do visualization of these guests of compassion for the six locals. At the end, then we sound we integrate everything, trying to be in a state of contemplation, also with the knowledge that whatever we perform is like a dream, like unreal, being in that knowledge. And then this also is a way for empowering our practice. And then we dedicate our merits. Is it clear? I think it's not difficult because we just do, first of all, Om Ahum, 3 times Om Ahum. Then we dissolve with the pet, then Song of the Vajra. Then we do first pet, transference. Then we do 4 times pet, inviting guests, Om Ahum Hawashri, offering. And then the end with the Okay, so we start now. Samita Suru Kutali Masu Chikira, 3 times Om Ahum. 4 times Om Ahum. Then we do first pet, transference. Then we do 4 times pet, inviting guests, Om Ahum Hawashri, offering. And then the end with the And then we start now. Chikira Om Ho Ha Ho Shri Om Ho
Samha Mama Kole
Okay, so this is for now, and then tomorrow I will start explaining the practice that we do in the Dzogchen community. Also, especially one part of the session will be dedicated to the melodies, to learn the melodies. And then here tonight we do the practice, and maybe also I explain something. But in any case, we meet it.